Hello and welcome to our HERlarious event this afternoon. My name's Gemma Collins and I'm one of NatWest's Business Growth Enablers. As a Business Growth Enabler, my role is to support small to medium enterprises with signposting to NatWest products and services, introducing to local networks, and running events such as this. Well, in 2019, our now CEO Alison Rose led the Rose Review into female entrepreneurship, which was commissioned by the Treasury. And that review showed that if women started and grew businesses at the same rate as men, it would add £250 billion to the UK economy. Since then, we've been working on implementing the 8 recommendations that arose from the Rose Review across the industry. And we are pleased to be one of the founding members of the Investing in Women Code, alongside more than 60 other banks and financial institutions. Earlier this year, Alison Rose, the only female CEO of a high street UK bank, also announced our new purpose, which is to be the champion of UK business and to be the biggest supporter of startups in the UK and the Republic of Ireland, by helping to create 50,000 new businesses by 2023 and supporting 500,000 people on their journey. As part of that, we aim that 60% of that support goes towards women. And as part of that commitment, we will continue to organise events like this to support women in business. Now, we know that this year has been very challenging for all of us, and with constant changing conditions due to COVID-19. But we've once again partnered with Funny Women to bring you skills and techniques from the world of stand-up comedy to help us all navigate through these very uncertain times with greater resilience as well as some humour. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Lynn Parker from Funny Women.
Hi, thank you so much, Gemma, and lovely to be here. Well, yes, as you quite rightly said, we're in strange and unusual times, and today's event is all about the best way to thrive both personally and professionally. We're here to give you a few guidelines on that. Now, we're all affected very differently by the ups and downs of this pandemic. Some of you may have used this time of working from home to start new ventures, new businesses, or even found different strategies to manage your role in a larger organisation. Either way, we've got to accept that virtual reality is here to stay, at least for the foreseeable future, and it will continue to be part of our working practice and a way of communicating way beyond the lockdowns and social distancing. Now, for all of us, this is very hard, and we're right in the middle of a second lockdown, which I know has been extremely tough for a lot of people. The continued uncertainty also impacts on us. The promise of a COVID vaccine is very exciting, but it's not going to change things overnight. So really today, I want us to take on board what we're dealing with now. And we're looking at things like our mind, body and soul, and how you can actually reset your goals for the future. We spend so much time at work that it's important to be match fit. Actors like Jenny, who's with us today, who go on stage, they have to look after themselves, as do athletes. It's all about peak performance. Your mind and body are uniquely blended, and these times of isolation have impacted on pretty much most of us. You might also have thought about throwing in the towel, I know I have, and starting afresh. What's the best way to approach this? And can you actually have a restart without changing the parameters? Now, working in and around comedians and performers has shown me the importance of good balance, personal care, and knowing when it's right to start again. That might be in comedy terms with a new persona or a different script. Honestly, in my business, it's never a dull moment. And I know with my particular community that I have to look after myself before I can serve it. So this is what today is all about. For context, for those of you who don't know me, I set up Funny Women in 2002, following an exchange, shall we call it politely, with a misogynist comedy promoter. At the time, I ran a PR and marketing consultancy, and he was my client. And when I questioned him as to why he never booked any women for his club, he told me that women aren't funny and that there's no funny women. Well, 18 years on, the rest is history. I think I've had my revenge. But I've now built a nationwide and increasingly, because of the pandemic, global community. It's a not-for-profit. It's for women to perform, write and create comedy. And at our very heart, we have the Funny Women Awards. We've just completed our 17th competition, despite the restrictions of lockdown. The work we do as HERlarious came out of running workshops and helping women in the comedy industry and we've just transferred the tricks of the trade into the corporate and workplace environment. And I know, and I hope that you will find some of the things today will help you empower you in your business and your personal lives. So to help me on this quest, I have two absolutely incredible and inspirational women who I work with regularly as performers, speakers, business advisors, the wonderful Jenny Bolt and Deb Leary. On the theme of resilience and creativity, I asked them both before today about the challenges they faced in lockdown and life in general and what they're most proud of. Jenny, who you're about to meet, said her biggest challenge during lockdown has been to keep a sense of purpose, to maintain her yoga practice, to be creative and to be present in a storm of distraction. Hear, hear, I think we all identify with that. What she's most proud of is that she's an independent woman, she's just getting through this year, being there for others, and above all, still finding joy, which I'm hoping is going to show us how to do today. Jenny trained as an actress, director, and is also a qualified yoga teacher. She's an award-winning stand-up comedian. She won the Silver Stand-Up in 2019. She's a skilled freelance workshop facilitator. She's worked with me on lots of NatWest events. She coaches individuals as well. We work together very regularly, both in the comedy sector and the corporate sector. So I'm not going to say any more because really it's over to Jenny.
Hello there. It's really great to be here today. And I found that during lockdown, one of the things that has really come up for me is that my world seems to have gone from a sort of panoramic view to a very, very narrow telescopic view. And all the little things in life that before I would just deal with, carry on, have now become bigger. Everything that is small, the unwashed coffee cup, the saucepan on the side, have become a much bigger issue than they need to be and have become a massive distraction. Now, I think it's got very hard to find the time for oneself and for the important things, because all of these small things are getting in the way. And I also think because we're all working from home, whether we have children and families or not, there's a sense of having to juggle everything, being there in contact with people, whether that's via YouTube and Zoom or WhatsApp or Skype, telephone calls. The need for us to interact has become really, 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 really big, and therefore begins to take over what we're doing. And you suddenly realize that you don't really have much time for yourself. And in order to find focus, I know through my yoga practice that the best way to do that is through finding some kind of stillness in the middle of what seems to be a sea of chaos. But how do we do that? And there are lots of people who may think, oh God, don't start telling me I've got to do yoga. That's just something that I do. But I do believe that inside of us all, there is a place that is a deep inner stillness and a deep inner calm. It's almost like a beautiful secret place of refuge that we can go to. But how do we do that? How can we do that when we're at home, when we've got so many things we have to do? And it does mean having to make a little bit of time for yourself, which I've also found, strangely enough, that if you're in your normal working life, it seems easier to fit in than when you're doing everything at home. It seems so hard to find that tiny, tiny window of time to say, this is for me. So what I'm going to suggest to you is when it comes to approaching things, particularly perhaps to do with your work life, perhaps a session like today where you may be speaking or where you may be having to deal with clients or work colleagues, that before you do that, I want to suggest just some small exercises that you can do, sitting down and a little bit of breathing that can allow you just to draw all of your focus inwards and downwards to clear your mind, because when the mind is clear, then we can truly be creative, we can truly listen, and we can truly connect. So those of you that are watching, I do hope you're going to join in with this. I will be demonstrating some very basic exercises that you can do sitting down. And because so much of what we do is sitting down now, looking at a screen, our shoulders get up, we get very tense in the top of the body. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is make sure that you're sitting with your feet flat on the floor, no heels if you can help it, just feet down. And you're just going to drop your chin to your chest and at the back of the neck, stretch out. And then lift your head up. And as you breathe out, turn your head to your right. And as you breathe in, come back to center. And as you exhale, turn your head to your left. And breathe in and come back to center. You can breathe in through the nose and out through your mouth, or you can breathe in and out through your nose. It doesn't matter. But do make sure that you're keeping your jaw nice and relaxed. Tension sits in our jaw. We tend to stress like this. So try and keep this nice and relaxed. So that's chin to the chest. Lift your head up. Breathing in. And as you breathe out, head to the right. Come back to center. Breathing out, head to the left. Breathing in, come back to center. And then the other thing I'd like you to do is lift your shoulders up to your ears and breathe out on a vocalized sigh. So, feeling of letting go of all of that whirl of tension and stress sitting inside of you. So let's do that again. Lift the shoulders up, breathe in and one more time, lift the shoulders up, squeeze, breathe in and then just take the heels of your hands, gently massage the jaw here. It may feel quite sore. It's amazing how much tension actually sits here. You'll be amazed. And you can do this for as long as feels comfortable. And then you're going to just bring your hands down onto your lap. Now you can either rest your hands one on each side with the palms turned up, or in your lap, one palm on top of the other, palms face upwards. And I'd like you either to turn into a downward gaze or just close your eyes and make sure that you don't clench the jaw. And you're going to begin to focus on your breathing. Now, if you can close your eyes, it is better. But if not, just take a downward gaze and look to where your hands are. And you're going to breathe in for the next minute and breathing out. And I want you to begin to make your exhalations just a little bit longer than your inhalations. And if it helps, I'll give you a count. So I'd like you to breathe in to the count of 4. Breathing in 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you'll notice there's a natural pause at the top and the bottom of every breath. So let's just repeat that a few more times. So breathing in to the count of 4. Breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Keep the jaw released. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keeping your attention now on your breathing. Just breathing in and out, following the flow of your breath. I'd like you to imagine you can draw your attention inwards and downwards to your chest area, to what we call the heart center in yoga, the Anahata chakra, but it can just be the chest center. And I want you just to feel that you can turn your eyes downwards as though you could look into that space. And I'd like you to feel as you draw your attention inwards and downwards to the world and the calmness inside of you, that you just simply allow the external world to fade away. Now, when we're breathing, this is the first stage of meditation, and people think that meditating is about not thinking, but meditating is about not engaging with your thoughts. So as you breathe, drawing this attention inwards and downwards, allow the thoughts to fly around like butterflies that you can't actually catch, but you know that they're there. We can't stop our stream of thinking, but drawing the attention inwards and downwards to what I call your deep inner stillness and your deep inner calm. And it can help to use a mantra. And there is a very simple mantra, which is so hum, which means I am. And this is quite empowering to have this mantra. So breathing in, you think the word soul. Breathing out, you think the word hum. And this allows you to become very present and very still. Just a few more breaths. And you can do this for as long as you feel comfortable. 5 minutes is a good start, but it may only be 2 minutes. It might be minutes. You'll just carry on for a few more breaths, feeling that you can find that place deep inside where there is a stillness and a calmness, and all around outside there may be chaos. And then you can take a moment just to open your eyes and to bring yourself back into this room. Take one last nice deep breath. And we're back in the room. Now that is my tip for you. It doesn't take very long. Now, if you're in a situation at home, this is actually something you can get your children to do with you if you need to. You can get them to sit on the floor. They love to sit on the floor. I do this with children and have done in the past. Cross-legged and a nice straight back, and just ask them to sit quietly and breathe. They may get giggly, but they can also benefit from this. So you can still find that time for yourself, even if you've got your children around you. You can get them to sit still, hopefully, and engage with this. But it really is that question of focusing deep inside, because once the mind is clear and you come back into the world, then it's much easier for you to communicate, to listen, put your ideas across. So that's it. Any questions?
That's brilliant, Jenny. Thank you very much. We've got some great questions actually, so I'll get on and ask them. So one that I think amused all of us doing our face thing. Is this a bit of a good facelift as well, Jenny? Can we? Does it help with the old jowls? Oh, Jenny seems to have frozen here, so I don't know what's going on. Can you hear me, Jenny? Can you hear me,
yes.
Jenny? Yes. So yes, is it a good facelift as well as an energizer? Will it help with your face muscles? I think we've got a few
other things I do actually is
I think we've got a few tech problems, Jenny, which I think what we'll do is, I've got lots of questions. So what I'll do is I'll save them up, and I would suggest that we move on and bring in Deb, and then perhaps we can sort out all the tech problems, and then we can have a joint discussion at the end. So hopefully that will work. So, okay, so I'm going to introduce Deb Leary. I will give her the obligatory introduction here. So I asked Deb the questions that I asked Jenny, and she said her biggest challenge during lockdown has been, and I know this because I'm a friend of Deb, so I know what she's been through. Proud of how, she took the decision to permanently move to home working. Good timing, and trying to clear out 20 years worth of business papers and stuff has been very challenging. The thing she's most proud of is how her team has adapted positively throughout COVID. She's taken on new people. She's about to launch a new brand, so that's a definite restart, and maintained and gained new clients. So this is very much about how you can pivot your business. Deb is Deb Leary is OBE. She's an OBE. She's a founder and CEO of the award-winning Forensic Pathways, and specialises in digital forensics, fraud, and due diligence investigation. Sounds like an exciting TV program. Deb is also an experienced consultant and speaker on entrepreneurship, CSR, global trade for many organisations, and she was awarded her OBE in 2008 Queen's Honours List. Deb was one of 10 amazing business women who performed stand-up for us when Funny Women turned 10. And indeed, Deb and a bunch of other brilliant women, we raised over, I think it was actually nearly over 40,000 in the end, Deb. We raised a lot of money for a number of different charities. So on that happy note, I'm going to hand over to you. Deb has got some notes and slides which we will happily share with you. So if you particularly want to get a copy of them afterwards, do drop us a note in the comments. So over to you, Deb.
Thanks, Lynn. Thank you. And whilst I can't see you, I'm sure you're all there, and we look forward to getting some questions from you. I don't know whether I'm Jenny was the calm before the storm, I think, probably on the storm. So I'm going to be asking you to think of a few things about yourself, because this is all about restart. And, with what we've been through with COVID, we've all got to think about the world in a slightly different way. But really, I think we should be doing that anyway on a regular basis. So I think for the next 10 minutes, there's a couple of key questions I want you to ask of yourself. And these are, who are you? And that's a phrase that we've heard in the past from somebody else. Who are you? What is it you want? And that's always a difficult thing. So what is it you want? What's it going to take for you to get there, and who do you need to be? Now, when I started my business back in 2001, I didn't think about any of that. All I thought about was, yay, I've got a great idea. I think it's really good. I think it's going to fly. I'm going to try and make it happen. I didn't think about the person I needed to be and who I was and what my traits were. What did I think about risk? What skills had I got? I didn't consider any of it. I just flung myself into it. And thinking back now, it would have been very astute of me to have actually sat down with just a blank piece of paper and say, okay, Deb Leary, who are you? What makes you tick? What are your drivers? What are your motivators? What makes you happy? What irritates the hell out of you? What are you not good at? So who do I need to bring in those situations where I'm not good at something? And really analyse myself, really. And particularly so, I think, with regards to my attitude to money and risk. I am not risk averse. I'm slightly the opposite, though I do take the view that the decisions I make are based on what I know at the time and try and fill in the gaps where I can. So it's about thinking about who I am, which is what I missed out on, and which I think is something that you need to think about. And what is it you want? Now, if we're starting on a journey of going into business, what type of business do we want? Is it a lifestyle business where you're quite happy you're happy to tick along, you're happy to bring in money, it's an enthusiasm, it's a passion? Or is it something more? Is it the fact that you want to build a company, a multinational? You want to go for growth, you want to exit. What's the vision that you've got in your head of what your future could look like? Because when you do that, then you start to put the baselines in order to work towards to work towards getting there. And what's it going to take? Who do you need to bring on board? When you first start off in business, you're everything. You're the accounts, you're the sales. I remember when I first started, somebody ringing me up about a product I'd invented, and they asked to be put through to sales. And I remember putting them on hold for a few minutes, pretending that I've got another department somewhere else. We've all done it. But so who is it you need on the team? What are the skill bases that you need, and what are the personalities that you need in order to make this thing a success? And who do you need to be? Because the person that you are at the beginning of the journey isn't the person that you're going to be at from the beginning, in the middle, and at the end. You're going to evolve. And if you want to develop a multinational or a company, who is it you need to be in order to achieve that? And it's always good to look at other people who have succeeded and try and mirror some of that profile. Don't copy them, but mirror them and bring your own personality into it as well, because it is about as much about personality as it is anything else. And I call what I've been through a bit like the Madonna complex. You've got to continually change and evolve and reinvent yourself as you go through the journey. So for me, there are some sort of key pointers that I found as I've gone through the journey. I mean, I started in 2001. I've seen, financial crashes. We've now got COVID. We've got the impact of social media on business and how that has completely changed the way that we do business, the way that we interact. We're constantly having to adapt. So although COVID has been an immense change, it's, change is a certainty. We're always going to be affected by change. So some of the key pointers I've learned on my journey is the need to link with a fabulous peer group, and a peer group that will challenge you. Now, when I first started my business, and throughout my life when my parents were alive, my mum would always say, whatever I did, everything would be fine. And everything I did was fine, because, she loved me, and, no matter what I wanted, she would approve of. So having a peer group that will challenge you is an important step along the way, because you do need to be challenged. Otherwise, you can end up becoming a bit of a dictator if you've got a team. You need somebody to challenge you. And not only challenge you from a business point of view, because you're not just a business person, you are a human being, and everything goes into the mix. You've got your personal life, your family life, your financial, and the business, and it makes up the whole person. It's not just one thing. So having an awesome peer group is really important. Constantly reevaluate your purpose and your route. What is your purpose? Because it will change as you evolve. And what route are you going to take? Who do you need to be? Who do you need to go to for help? Where are the markets that are open to you? And from a financial point of view, know your numbers. Don't be afraid of your numbers. Your numbers, sometimes you feel that they are your worst enemy, but actually you can make them your best friend, because it's being empowered by knowing your numbers and being able to work through things that'll give you the strength and resilience you need. And we've noted, throughout COVID, we've had to look at different ways of doing things. And the important thing for business, I think, is businesses who are able to diversify, look at new ways of doing things, look at new markets, look at new products. Those are the businesses that survive. Putting your eggs all in one basket is never a good idea. Finding different ways of leveraging what your business does is an important factor, not only for growth, but for sustainability. And collaborate whenever possible. Now, we collaborate with companies that you would think would be our competition, but we all have a bit of uniqueness within us, and I think whenever you collaborate, you are the richer for it, and you're opening up new opportunities for yourself. Write things down, because you'll think of something, an idea at the time, and you'll think, oh, I'll remember that, and you never do. So always write things down, and write down your goals and set down your targets, and where you can, tell people what those goals and targets are. And that could be to your peer group, or it could be to your team, because those are the people that will hold you to account and will keep you on track and don't let you drift. Be aware of your competition, but don't be ruled by them. I think I know of a company who I've done work with before, and they're so obsessed with what the competition does and the way the competition behaves and the way the competition reacts, that they're sort of caught in the headlights of them and forget about their own creativity, and it stifles their ability to reach out to the market. So be aware of the competition, but respond by projecting your uniqueness and your difference. And life, accept the fact that life gets in the way. Coming back to that point I said about, it's not just about the business, it's about the whole person. Life does get in the way, and accept that. And you have to find a mechanism to go through it. But these life journeys help you build your resilience. And I guarantee that you will find a way through them. I think one of the biggest things I've learned throughout my 20 years is that I have the answer within myself for everything. It may not be the answer that I like, but I do have the answer, and I can work through it. And Lynn will know that in the past 7 years, I personally have lost my parents and my husband, but I've still had to run a business. And those are tough things to deal with. But they're a part of life and a part of you as a person. And, just to embrace them and use that as a resilience builder, to know that you can face whatever hits you. And hone your story. Your story is as important as the product or the service that you provide. The story of your company and you is really important, because people are buying from you or are getting to know you as much as they are the product or the service. So it's all about developing your own personal brand, not just the company's brand. But on everything, be true to yourself. Authenticity is everything, as is reputation. People can spot when you're winging it and when you're not being your normal, your natural self. So love yourself, be kind to yourself, and always pay things forward. So I say the traits of a reset person, and I think we should call ourselves reset people, is that they are forever hopeful and they're forever grateful, because you must be grateful for the things that you've had, even for the things that have gone wrong, whether it's good, whether it's bad, or whether it's indifferent. It's all a part of making you the person that you are and helping you to move forward. Reset people are authentic, and they're resilient, and they're driven by relevance. Coming back to that point about, thinking about what's the purpose of your journey. And they are focused. But most importantly of all, with all of that, none of that is worth anything if they don't take action. So it's all about taking action. So I think about who you are, think about what it is you want, think about what it is it's going to take to get there, and who you need to be for that journey. And the most important thing of all to remember, things don't go wrong, they just go different. Thank you.
Absolutely fantastic. And indeed, Deb is an inspiration to me. We've known each other quite a while. She hasn't mentioned that fantastic thing about having a sense of humour, because I've probably had more laughs with you, Deb, than I've had with
this guy.
the comedy industry. I'm going to ask you a few particular questions, and I'm going to bring the lovely back in. I lots of things about diversification, adapting, pivoting. I think as well, that whole issue of taking risks, we are generally quite risk averse. And a question is, how do we use fear, and does it help us or hinder us in business? How do we channel it? How do we make it work for us?
I think fear, it depends on the person's mindset. Fear, for some people, fear just stops them from moving forward, and for others, they use that energy and take everything into account and be pragmatic. I mean, you've got to be pragmatic about what you're facing, and just write it down. Write down what it is you're actually frightened of, and then start to break it down as the steps so that you can get past that fear. You know, I don't get fear so much as the only thing that frightens me is running out of time. That's the only thing in life, because there's so many fabulous things to do.
Yes.
That's the only thing that frightens me.
And you've had a few life lessons that have fed into that, Deb, we know.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, grab it, throw it around and have fun with it.
The thing about, I really wanted to pick up on the handwriting thing, because you mentioned write it down a few times. And I journal, and I think journaling and putting down your thoughts is really, really good for clarification. What do you feel about, I feel you have to write it. I have a nice journal, I have a nice pen. Do you do the same thing, or do you write notes on your phone? What's your views of that?
Well, I do both, actually, but it was like the other week. It was in the middle of the night, and I woke up and I went straight to the phone because I had these ideas, and I knew if I didn't write it down, it was for a blog. And I don't do blogs, so I've got to write it down. I thought, oh God, where's this blog come from all of a sudden at 3 o'clock in the morning? But if I don't write it down somewhere, whether it's in a note, I've always got a notebook, or my phone, and I think it's important because you think you're going to remember it, and you never do.
Taking a leaf out, working with hundreds and hundreds of comedians over the years, they all have notebooks. And there's nothing like writing it down with a pen. You know, I think it's really important. You tend to remember things you've written down with a pen much better. Yeah.
So I have to say that I did a few years ago. Well, actually, it's 10 years ago. I started writing a book. I've still got the book locked in this computer, and it was called Eureka and Beyond. It was about taking an idea from an idea into market. And there's a bit of a personal journey as well, you know, about understanding the nature of you and looking back at my parents. And I picked it up a few months ago to restart it, and I realised that at least 3 people had died that I'd referred to. So I thought, I'm not right about anybody else.
Not exactly the positive message we want to give out here. Okay. You gotta laugh. I did say we had a lot of fun together. I'd like to bring Jenny back in if we've got her back online. Yes.
What happened? Hi. That's amazing, Dad. You've just inspired me. I'm going to rule the world in a week.
Right. Questions to rule the world. Would this give us a quick facelift, Jenny?
Yes, definitely will help. Yes. Yeah.
That helps, does it?
And pulling faces as well does, you know.
So give us a few tips. Okay.
I am 105. Can I just pick up on something? You know, the whole it does connect the whole thing of life getting in the way, and the things that happen to you make you who you are. And this is a long time. Sadly, I lost my mum when I was quite young, and I was in a terrible state, and I was sort of reaching for every self-help book out there, and seriously, the reason I finally turned to yoga, I was in a really rubbish little WH Smith somewhere again, you know, crying secretly, you know, in grief, and literally a yoga book, the oldest sort of yoga book ever, fell off a shelf and hit me on my head.
Ooh.
And I absolutely believed it was a sign. And I brought that book and I took it home and I never looked back, because I then trained to teach yoga and I taught yoga very actively for over 14, 15 years. And so, as I put there, sometimes life gets in the way, but some events can actually show you the way. And
yes,
it's really true. And funny little events give you. Somebody's put about goosebumps. They do give you goosebumps. And I back in 2009, I needed to get some perspective. I've just been working a lot, and so I decided to do an extreme trek. And I trekked to Everest Base Camp. And and I was about 2 days away from base camp, and we got to this monastery, and it was getting dark, and they said, oh, there's like a shed over in the corner where there's chocolate and biscuits you can just get. So I went wandering over there. Now, take me back to being at college, and I was studied English language and literature, and I read a book called The Sandcastle by Iris Murdoch. And halfway down the first page of The Sandcastle, there's one sentence, and it says, it was a cold lunch. And that really stuck with me, because basically the book was about the breakdown of a marriage. But within that one sentence, those few words, it summed up the whole book. And it made me realise the importance of language and the importance of the word. So propel me back to 2009. I go to this shed, I open it up in the dusk of the Nepalese night. And I'm looking, and on the top shelf, there's a book, and I pull it down, and it's The Sandcastle by Iris Murdoch.
No, there you go.
That's amazing.
And I looked on that page as if it wasn't going to be there, and it was there. It was a cold lunch, and I left it there for somebody else. But everything in life, this is what I was saying earlier, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's indifferent, the world is everything is connected, and you always come back to home in the end. It's really interesting.
It's interesting, because that is very much a sort of yoga theory, that we are all interconnected, that there is no real separation. We just have to allow it. We have to allow that connection to take place. Part of my story, similar connection thing, which was that I'd finished the job at the Old Vic. I knew I didn't have another acting job coming up. I decided to go and do my 5 minutes. I'd done stand-up years before. But in my head, I was thinking, I want to go and work with women and do confidence skills workshops. That's what I'm doing as my other job. After this, I went in for my first 5 minutes. And the next time I went, Lynn just came over to me almost out of the blue and just said, do you want to come and work with me? I said, doing what? She said, going into business and stuff. I said, oh my God. So again, some inner voice told me to sign up for that workshop, because that was the way to go. That was the path I was going to take.
What brings us all together? Lynn brings us all together, but comedy and music are the two things that bring people together, no matter where they are in the world, and no matter what other differences they've got. Those are the two things that bind us all together.
I've got a question about music. Thank you for the segue, Deb. There was a question earlier. What sort of music can you listen to in the background? I think this is a Jenny question. And another question was, can you invent your own mantra?
Okay.
A clean mantra, preferably. But
yes.
What is the purpose of mantras and music? Right.
Okay. There is one person that I listen to. If you have an Alexa app, you can get her. She is called Wah, W-A-H. And if you say play music by Wah, you will have the most wonderful, they are yoga mantras. You don't need to understand them. It's just the music is beautiful. And I do my yoga to that most days. Can you make your own mantra? You can, as long as it's not too complicated. I mean, I did a short course in transcendental meditation, and they give you a mantra, but you mustn't reveal. But generally speaking, if you're going to have a mantra, try not to make it too long. Either a one-syllable thing that you connect to, or as I say, you can actually say the words I am. And when I was actively teaching yoga to big groups of people, I would say, I am all that there is, all that there was, and all that there shall be. In my head, that's what I always am allowing to rattle around. But yes, you can say I can. If you've got an issue coming up, I can, as long as it's simple. But I do find that WA, and there is one, I'll type this in if I can remember how to spell it. One LP she does, it's called WA Savasana, and that's just a yoga word for kind of good morning. So I'm going to type that in, WA.
Okay.
W-A-H.
I think we'll have to get that transmitted elsewhere, because I'm not sure they can see us typing in, but we'll work that out, and I'm sure we can make sure that everyone gets that information.
I can get it generally through Alexa, because you know, everything's
brilliant. Wow. That sounds like
W-A-H. Yeah. Sometimes what may happen is they will play Wham. No. That's
all right. That's right. Yes. Whoa. Wake me up before you go. That would be lovely to work
with. Yeah, that's a good one. Well, okay. Dancing in your kitchen to anything you like. Feeling blue.
Okay. I would like to bring Gemma back in from NatWest. Here she is. She's been sending us. I know she's got quite a few things she wants to comment on. But Gemma, you mentioned you sent me a message talking about what NatWest are doing in this space in terms of mentoring and just generally helping people in business.
Yeah, so I was really taken, Deb, when you were talking about your fabulous peer group. And that really resonated with me because, as I said in the introduction, I work closely with small to medium businesses. And one of the programs we offer at NatWest is the NatWest Accelerator program, where in normal times, businesses that get onto this program would have access to an amazing co-working space. And we've got 12 of those hubs around the country. And at any one time, each hub might have about 12 businesses working on the program. And what I found working very closely with the businesses in Cardiff, which is my local hub, is the community that they build up amongst themselves, and the collaboration that goes on there as well. And to my mind, they are their own fabulous peer group. That community's moved online at the moment, as you can imagine. And we've also got another program called Business Builder, which is designed to help businesses at any stage. So those people who've just got an idea, which you talked about, you know, how you need to be ready at the very start and think things through rather than just launching into it. So Business Builder is an online tool that's designed to help people think things through, but also if they're existing businesses and they want to grow, then there's resource for them too, and that is a completely free online resource that anyone can use. Both programs are open to anyone, not just NatWest customers. So that really resonated with me. But I was also keen to know, Deb, who's in your fabulous peer group?
Oh, it's a very special group.
I've got a couple of very fabulous peer groups. We've got a group called Sue's Crew, which is a lot of fun, which is an international peer group, and you know that's a lot of women are in business in that, but we're just, you know, it's a fun group. My other group that I'm involved in is the Women Presidents Organisation. I'm due to go to a meeting, virtual meeting, today. The Women Presidents Organisation is an international peer group, and it comes back to that. We meet once a month, and there's a set format to it. We look at both business, finance, family, and personal. So we take the whole person, and we meet once a month, and it's a bit like the board that you can't afford. So you're putting in issues that you may have. Nobody says, well, I would do it this way, you should do it that way. The process helps you come to your own answer, which is what is required. And what's good about it is the fact that the following month you come back in and say, well, okay, how did that go? Did you do what you say you were going to do? And it does make you focused. And of all the networks that I've been involved in, and I've been involved in a lot over the 20 years, you know, taking the whole person into account is what needs to happen, because we're not machines. We're fallible. We have challenges. We have issues. We have arguments. You know, we have family fallouts. We have financial catastrophes. And all of those things go to make the whole. It's not just one thing. So peer groups, WPO for me has been amazing. My friends and the Sue's crew, that's amazing. You know, there's other groups such as We Connect, which is around putting women-owned businesses in contact with large corporates. But really, those two first groups have, you know, been amazing for me.
I think there's a lot of talk about, I have a kind of a little bit of an aversion to the word tribe, mainly because it makes it sound a bit kind of combative. And I think a lot of women's peer groups are very circular. The one that Deb referred to, that is really a bunch of friends, actually, curated by a central person, and we're all connected to her, is a very interesting example of how I think women are so successful within their own social and professional circles of supporting each other and helping each other, which is hardly surprising, really, because it's our instinct. You know, it's the hunter-gatherer model that women have to do kind of all the, you know, the child rearing and the cooking, picking berries, cooking. They're the ones left back at base camp, pulling it all together while the men go off and play with their spears and hunt wild animals, you know. And if you put that analogy back into today's environment, it's not that different. I think also women are very good. I think we've embraced the social. I know it's hard doing everything online, but actually for a lot of women, it's quite liberating, because if you're trying to, okay, homeschooling aside, if you are able to, you know, embrace this time of using social media, then and virtual platforms, this could be a really great way of us, not just women but men as well, all of us who are, you know, trying to manage our lives. This is a great way of cutting out, reducing our carbon footprint, having more time with our families. I think we're at that extreme point where everyone's doing everything at the moment. I think it will settle down. And I think, you know, going back to Jenny with, I think Jenny's view and bringing in some exercises. I had a question actually for Jenny, because one of my biggest problems is self-motivation, is how to, you know, I always wake up every morning and think, oh, I should do some yoga exercises. Do I ever, you know? But what is it? How do I get? I'd love a clue as to sort of motivation. How do I motivate myself? I think personally, that's one of my hardest things.
I think, and it can happen to me as well, you know, sometimes my yoga mat can be like a tyrant rolled up in my room and I'm fighting with it. But I do know ultimately getting it out and doing it is the best thing, even after all of these years. But I think if you haven't got a yoga mat, you know, just say to yourself, I'm just going to do 5 minutes stretching. You could just be doing this sort of stretching. You could just do this sort of stretching. And I think what begins to happen when you feel that very small benefit, the next day your body says, oh, come on, do that again. Come on. That was really good. The other thing is if you're going to do any sort of sitting down and breathing, you can do it before your mind gets too busy. Almost, you wake up, you have your cup of tea or coffee if you're sitting there, or wake up in bed, sit up and think, before I do anything, I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to close my eyes and I'm just going to breathe and be aware of the state that I am right now, before the world floods in through and absolutely causes all of that. I've got to do this and I've got to do that and blah, blah, blah. Just check in how you feel today. And it helps you to slow down. And I just would like to, I was looking at some, I love quotes. And there are two that I'd like to pass on. One, when I was working at the old name dropping, put up this huge sign that just said, there isn't much time. We must move slowly.
Oh, I like that. That's very good.
And the other one is, it is Confucius says, it doesn't matter how slowly you are moving, as long as you keep moving. And I think there is a pressure, even now, because everything is so quick, press a button, there you are, to rush. It doesn't matter if you're moving slowly. Just keep moving. And I think that takes off masses of stress from me. Masses.
I think that need to move quick. That need to move quick. It's all come about because of social media. I think.
Absolutely.
I think what I'm pleased to see is I remember when I first started as a startup, going to lots of, you know, conferences and lectures from people who were already successful. And it was a very sort of, in a sense, an aggressive environment, because it was saying, you can do this, and it's fabulous, and everything's wonderful, and blah, blah, blah. And not one of those people ever said, actually, I had a really crap time this one year. This is where it went wrong for me. I didn't feel that I succeeded in the way I wanted to. But this is what I did to put things back into a perspective. And I think the beauty of now is that people are far more open to say, well, you know, I always say, and I said it earlier, I view it, things don't go wrong, they just go different. And that way I'm kind to myself, or try and be at least. But I think, you know, being realistic and honest about when things haven't gone as you expected, and you're under more pressure, it frees you up to think and be creative and say, okay, this hasn't gone how I wanted it to be. What do I need to do next? And to share those journeys if you can, because other people need to learn too.
That's brilliant, Deb. I think that's a really positive note to bring our discussion to an end. Thank you very much, both of you. I'm going to hand back to the wonderful Gemma in Wales and say it was brilliant. It was great fun. There's loads of advice. I know that NatWest will put information out. But Gemma, would you like to just close today's session for us?
Yes, thank you, Lynn. So while I found that completely inspirational, it was fantastic to hear from Deb and Jenny. I've got a couple of pages full of things that I've written down that I'm going to try and keep with me for certain. Some of the pointers that Deb had about starting up and running a business, and certainly, you know, Jenny's tips on staying calm and grounded in the moment and whatever. So yeah, absolutely fantastic, I think. And thank you so much to you as well, Lynn, for hosting us today. Loads of questions, and I know that if anybody does want to receive a copy of Deb's slides, then feel free to pop your email address now in the last minute or so in the comments box, and we can get that over to you. But otherwise, I would just like to say thank you so much for joining us at this event, and look out for another one soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Gemma.